Good morning. What is great, good, and real? And welcome to day 7 of the 1,000 hour journey towards self improvement. I'm Cliche Jeff. I don't know why I introduced myself that way. I think I did it yesterday. Seems pretty standard and logical to have a consistent theme with how we open things up. But in any event, it's early. I have my water. I have my chapstick. I'm getting settled in. I feel very excited. Yesterday, I talked about feeling anxious, and my anxiousness was more built around feeling a little uncomfortable and more self doubtish. Today, I feel, a massive rush of energy, more so because I'm excited about doing this. I don't know specifically what I'm going to say. I don't think I ever know specifically what I'm going to say if I'm being honest and real. And that is part of what keeps me excited. It's also dangerous in the sense that, we talk about self improvement. As a businessman in business, I don't want to use the word never, right? Because we don't talk in absolutes that way. But I'm very cognizant and conscious of having an agenda, knowing what I'm doing throughout the course of the day. I don't walk into any meetings without knowing what one of my lights is off. Hold on. That was odd. There we go. Now we have more light in the darkness. I don't hold meetings without, I was going to say, knowing what I'm going to say, but it's not necessarily, I don't know what I'm going to say when I walk in. But because I've been doing what I've been doing for 20 plus years in the business space, I almost always know what I'm going to say because I'm so fluent in my line of work. I've been doing what I've been doing for so long. It comes very natural. So generally speaking, I have an overarching premise and framework for how I'm going to drive conversations in business and with the people I work with and who work for me and managing up and managing down, upstream, downstream, as far as how business and hierarchy and relationships work. But responsibly, I have an agenda because an agenda keeps you on target, on course, and it stops you from wasting time. That's a big thing in the business world. A lot of folks set a meeting for an hour to book their calendars, and 8 minutes in, I'm looking at my watch, kind of like, why are we still here? And it's because you didn't know what you wanted to do when you started this meeting, or you're looking to pretend like you're doing something. Sorry about that. My watch was still connected to tracking my meditation. So yesterday I tried to do this. What time is it? Oh, it says it's 4:15 a.m. I don't know why she didn't say it. Siri speaks to me sometimes. Sometimes she doesn't. Maybe I gotta have my phone on do not disturb as is general tradition. But I'm hyped today. I feel blessed and amazing. I feel excited. Day 7 again of our journey. I'm gonna look at my spreadsheet soon. I filled in some blanks. We're making progress. It's still early. It's still very early in the process. 7 days into where you might be, significant changes in your life. While it's early and you should have all of the inspiration, motivation, and an incentive to keep moving and keep pushing, I see how it's also it also gets late early in that 7 days in, some people have already quit. That's just real. That's not me. That's not me talking. There's data on it. And and crazy enough, some people 7 days in haven't even started what they said they were gonna do. And that goes into your agenda. What is your mental agenda? What is your mindset agenda? What are you thinking? And what are you saying to yourself? That's a lot of where I wanted to drive the conversation. I knew somewhat today the framework for if we're going to be successful, we got to know what we're thinking, right? And I believe, based on the research I've done, the experience I have with myself, and the experience I have with the people I have experience with, and I've experienced a lot of people, in that I've managed relationships, intimate relationships, professional relationships, all sorts of relationships. I tell you what, even raising children in this day and age, it gives me a different perspective. It makes me think back to, of course, how I was raised and the things I might have gotten or might not have gotten. I referenced before, single parent home, latchkey child. I had a lot of alone time, but I also had a lot of great forces in my life. I think when we think and we give ourselves time to sort of reflect and ponder about where we might be, a lot of it we think is because of what might happen, and it's real, it's relevant. It happened, and because it happened, it stops or starts us. It impedes us. It breaks us down because some of it is traumatic, some of it hurt. We can't get over it. In the self-improvement space, when you start to become conscious of these things and who you are, like really conscious, and you really think through these things, and you give yourself some sort of self-therapy, you certainly appreciate, man, I could be a lot different if things had gone different. That's just the truth and the reality. Now, if you haven't learned already, and naturally, I talked about this in some of my scripted and published content. I have another video coming out today, which I'm excited about. Rise and Grind Part 2, the benefits. But when you consider that all that is real, and you are where you are, why you are where you are, you're here. I don't know what else to, like, when I start to think through these things and I talk to folks, and I talk to myself, we're here. We're here. Is there a therapeutic benefit to going through the past and coming to a level of resolution and acceptance? Of course. I'm also not a psychologist. I get it. But I think, because we're talking about thinking and the agenda, and what are you doing? And have you quit? I hope not. Do you need a reason to move forward? If so, let's find it, because we all need a reason to move forward. What are you thinking? Because regardless of irregardless, some people pause on that word. What do you mean irregardless? It's a word, look it up. Irregardless, you're still here. And some of the difficulties I face, and it might be insensitive to say, relationally, this is why I don't fuck with certain people. If you're stuck somewhere and you can't move forward, I can't keep talking to you. Because one, I'm very cognizant of my energy, my thoughts, and how I work and operate. I have a sphere of people. My circle is my wife and my 2 children. And I'm naturally in that circle. So anything that puts me at risk for my little circle, I dismiss you. And that's people, that's process, that's thought, that's energy, that is whatever, information, anything that compromises my little sphere, my small little bubble of the cliche Jeff realm. I dismiss you. And when I'm in it, and it's not to say I don't have if I have a really tight sphere with just my wife and my 2 children, there's another really, 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 really tight one that is wrapped right around my small little circle. Because I have people who I look to for support, that I look to support, very, very small, because that's life, and we all have relationships that way, and we help each other. But back to my point about having an agenda, what are you thinking, and you're here. If you can't think yourself through it, and you can't at least think to know that we can't keep repeating what's already occurred, then you're going to infect me with all your complaining, with all of your excuses. I know how this sounds high level, but we're talking about self-improvement too, right? If you're on a journey to improve and you're with me and you're trying to put in 1,000 hours, I can't have 1,000 hours of reflecting on all that's already happened and hearing you complain and ruminate and stay in that space and not realize that that I think about this a lot. How we talk about what are you thinking, and thinking and being in the moment and presence is important. So if you're constantly presently, is that what I wanted to say? If you're constantly in the present, talking to me about all your failures, that means you haven't failed, you are continually failing. If you're going to be in the present, talking to me about your losses, you haven't lost, you are still losing. You see, we get into these scenarios where it's real cool to talk about we want to be winners and winning and in the moment and dominate, etc. And what that means is if you're not in this present moment, locked in on what you're supposed to do, if you don't have your self agenda, your thought agenda, your processes operationally, this is all an operational flow. This is why I love business and the business I'm in. There's an operational workflow. You can't always be in discovery mode and new implementation and putting in a new shiny object. Oh, this is real cool. Let's try it. No, at some point, you got to commit to the process. And when you commit to the process, that's when it just becomes an operational workflow. When it becomes an operational workflow, you are present. And presently, what that means is where I'm at, how I'm at, regardless of what it is, I just got to do. I know, cliche, you've heard it before, awfully difficult to do. This is where consistency comes in. This is where willpower comes in. This is a testament to your work ethic, your honor, your integrity, that I only have what I have. And if I continue to stay in the past, I'm not just a product of what has occurred. I'm continually a process of what is occurring. And so if in my occurrence of occurring, I'm staying where I was, I'm continually where I'm at, I'm repeating these things, I am still that. You can't elude that fact. Oh, it happened already. You keep repeating it because you keep talking about it, because you keep thinking about it. It keeps happening to you. You haven't failed. You're continuing to fail. You're in a failure state. You're in a losing state. We cannot stay there if we want to make improvement. That's all. If you don't want to improve, cool. I'm big on that too. At some point, there's some difficulty in the conversation. I had a conversation. One of the last people that I thought was a really good friend that we kind of broke off. I'll tell you the last conversation we had. Let me check the chat. Anybody in the chat? Who's in the Do You Rules chat at 4:25 a.m.? Ooh, I'm hyped, baby. So I had a really good friend, man. And, it's funny. It's easy to think about when relationships break off. You say, well, that person wasn't for me. And you may start to critique the person. In the same way, I talked recently. I saw a tweet or a quote, something along the lines of, you're going to feel stupid. You're going to look stupid. It's not going to make sense. Click record, press play, do whatever it is you got to do. And after 100 or 1,000 or a million times of doing it, you'll feel better. But I don't want to lose, and I don't believe you should lose, the feeling you got that makes you click record, that made you incentivized and feel great about starting the thing. Because you can't, oh, what's good? You just made my day. You made my day. I got a little nervous seeing that somebody's in the chat now. It's ironic how the mind works. We're thinking about thoughts. Part of the reason why I come on live this early is because I hope to get an audience at 4:27 a.m. to inspire you, but also keep myself inspired. Because why else would you do this? Like, let's feed off each other. I talked about it yesterday. But also, you get nervous. You get nervous because this is new, but this is also why we do this. So I hope you feel, hello, blessings and peace. I hope that's That's the thing about self-improvement and the journey to 1,000 hours. I hope that you can find something in your life. If it's $1 gazillion and you become the most famous person in the world, great. But just to feel good about life, feel good about something you're doing every day, because man, it feels good to feel good about life every day. All right. So let's keep talking. And the point I was going to go to about relationships and people and how I get, these difficulties and why I don't let it in my sphere. So I have a small sphere, my wife and my 2 children, and another sphere around it. One of the last people I talked to, he and I worked together. Tremendous relationship. We had great times, great times. I'm not going to front. A lot of it I no longer want to do anymore because we pushed the barriers of life a little bit too far. But we knew what we were working at was becoming a very toxic environment for us. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's another thing. What's right for me may be wrong for you, and what's wrong for me might be right for you. I'm not here to judge. But if you come to the realization in your thought process, I think that's how it works. The magic of the universe to appear on the screen at this time. I don't know what time zone you're on. If you're on the East Coast, 3:27. Damn. In Louisiana, blessings. You see, for everybody out in the world that doubts themselves, man, even if it's so, if you could change one life in your life, let the first life you change be yours. And then when you change your life, give that changed you away, and you might change another life. And then what a life, right? Boom. Because if you can't give yourself away in that way, then what are you doing with your life? And we all I say this regularly on the channel. Even if you just have one person that you share your life with, it's not selfish. Go do you with that person and be blissfully amazing for the rest of your life. See how you feel about life. And then get back to me. So we have this relationship. We consider that this thing is toxic. And once you've identified, this is the thing with thoughts with me. And when we come to a decision in our mind, right? And we can't ruminate and get stuck and find ourselves in the same space. You one day realize this is toxic. It's no longer working. I don't really want to be here. It's not benefiting me. And where isn't it benefiting you? In the relationship, in the professional space, you might look at it and say, I want to make a certain amount of money. If this place in this business isn't giving you the money, go find more money. You might be in a business and say, the person I'm reporting to isn't nurturing me. I want to grow my career. They're not offering me the knowledge and the support I need to be able to grow my career. My colleagues, it might be a toxic work, whatever it is, you have to decide if it's for you or not. So this person and I, who were having a tremendous time in life together, we actually had gotten promoted together and we were doing some great things. But as we had some foresight, because at some point you look and you say, all right, if I'm here and I know I want to get here, and I'm in this space, is where I want to go. Is the environment around me going to offer me the growth I need? And if the answer is no, get the fuck out. That's just me. That's how I operate. So I'm with this dude and we're talking and we're shooting the shit. And all these great things are happening, but we have this inflection point of, where we're at is not long term. So once I made that determination, I left. I got another job. It was the best thing I ever did because I had a really deep conversation with my vice president at the time, who said, if you don't do these 3 or 4 things, I know you just got promoted, I won't promote you again. And it didn't sit well for me because now he has the right and the authority. Like, you're the person responsible for the business. If you're saying I got to do these 3 things, and if I don't, you're not going to push me forward and promote me again, I can't fight you. I can fight you and say, I think you're wrong, but what is that going to get me? He said I got to do this. I don't want to do this, so I'm out. Now, this other dude here, we shared the information. He heard the same thing. He also felt, I'm not doing this, but he stood there. That's cool. I left, and it was about a year into us continuing to maintain text and phone calls, and he continued to complain about the same things he was complaining about. And my mindset and thought process is like, I left there I left there for these same reasons. You and I agreed we should leave for these reasons, and you're still there. So at some point, as a friend, I have to ask you, yo, what are you doing? Why are you still there? I can't, it's not going to change. You can't change. Like when the environment is like that, like I grew up in the projects, right? I grew up in the projects and I grew up on, low income poverty style living. That's just, there's a lot of people and there's an environment and a culture that's bred there. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, and different. When I go back there, it's home. When my kids go back there, they're a little confused. Like, Daddy, this is where it started. Yeah, this is where it started. But the environment offers you opportunity to be successful in the environment. If you do these things in this environment, you'll be successful. You look at it and you say, I don't really want to do those things. Okay, cool. If you don't do it, the environment's going to crush you because it tells you if you don't do these things, it's going to be hard for you. If you do these things, it'll be easier. When you look at the things you got to do and not do, you ask yourself, do I want to do these things? If the answer is no, you got to get out. You got to get out. So I finally said to the dude, yo, how much longer are you going to complain? Like I'm tired of hearing you complain, dog. I can't be your boy, and I can't say that I'm me to you and you're you to me, and not tell you, yo, I'd rather not hear about it. So do me the favor, when you call me, text me, or talk to me, don't talk to me about this. Oh, why? His response was, why do you feel the need to speak to me as if you're my father, my big brother? No. Why do you feel the need to receive that? That's you receiving it that way. That has nothing to do with me. I'm telling you how I'm receiving your information. I'm tired of you complaining. It's causing me conflict. I leave our conversation like, yo, why do I have a headache? Why is my spirit? I was on 1,000 when we talked. When I got off from talking to you, I was like crushed. I don't want to do that no more. So that was the last time we spoke. We never spoke again. And yo, it's not to say that I'm ignorant and naive or I'm like, oh, I'm that dude. No, there's some things in the relationship. He was good for me in a lot of ways. I was good for him in a lot of ways. But as I said to my wife, my wife and I constantly talk about, we've been together for 25 years. I'm gonna be 44 this year. Yo, yes. You and Red Rose, I tell you what, people will tell you, be honest with me. I don't want to generalize. In my experience in life, and I was this way too. You think you want to hear the truth until somebody tells you the truth. And then you're like, yo, why are you talking to me like that? You said you wanted the truth. I don't want to tell you. And so relationships and the relationship you have to life is that way. And I'm not knocking the dude. I could probably call him right now. He's in the same space. And if that's you, that's cool. It's not a judgment. It's just to say, if you're going to tell me about what happened that got you here, and we're not going to talk about what you need to move forward, then you're going to stay right here. It's not that you're a loser, or it's not that you're a failure, but if you keep repeating the losing effort or the losing routine and habits, then you're in a losing mindset state. It's perpetuating. It's how you feel, and you continue to move it forward. And like Red Rose is saying, the universe is going to bring you exactly what it is, and God is going to bring you like free will. Free will. God's not going to intervene. God is like, yo, what are you feeling? What are you looking for? What are you attracting? Boom, here you go. No judgment. Free will. That's life. And so I got tangential and excited. One, because Red Rose got me hyped. And two, because I feel really, 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 I feel very, what is the word I'm looking for? I'm serious about this stuff because I'm serious about my life. I'm serious about, if we're going to talk about 1,000 hours of self-improvement, then what are we thinking? Because it leads to what are we feeling, although really what we're feeling leads to what we are thinking. But the process as you go along and you start to kind of suffer through what life offers you, because life is sufferance, in order so I feel the excitement of people like Red Rose joining. True friends, life to be vulnerability. Oh, yes. There's no judgment. And you know what? A lot of things too. I said this yesterday on the stream. People have difficulty sometimes speaking with me today or enjoy it because sometimes I have nothing to say to you. I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to listen. Sometimes maybe you just hearing me listen, you hear yourself repeating what you're saying over and over and over. Thank you. It's funny. I care about people. At the same time, people make me nervous. And sometimes I'm like, yo, people are, I don't want nothing to do with people. But that's also part of the impetus for the Do You rules is I make my effort to put out a level of me into the world that I'm just giving back to God the way God gave to me. If it helps you, cool. If it doesn't, cool. You don't want to fuck with me, I don't want to fuck with you. But if you do, we do. And you know, I think deeply. We talk about why. I'm gonna leave, make the world better for your children. Like my children are everything. My daughter and my son, and my wife, of course. Well, hopefully, my wife, you know, goes with me. We go until we can't go no more. But when I'm not here, my children are gonna inherit this world, and part of what they inherit for this world is what I leave them, and what I leave them. Of course, there's we. If you're like me, maybe it's because I'm constantly looking at financial success because I came from such humble backgrounds. As I was thinking about this yesterday, I went to buy something on Amazon and I have like a flex card, an FSA card. You pay ahead and they tax you, or it comes with pre-tax, so I can buy, like, you know, whatever I need from CVS or pharmacy. I got a little card for that. Amazon takes it, but I think I selected EBT. So I was telling my wife, because the card, by the end of the year, you got to use all the money or you lose it. That shit sucks. So you pay into it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And I try to use every penny because I don't want to lose money. It's an investment. So I told my wife, yo, I use my EBT card. And she said, EBT card? The fuck, you got an EBT card? And I meant FSA. But I believe what the EBT card is, what I grew up as, I used to spend Monopoly money in the store. I grew up on coupons. If you grew up like me in the 80s and you were on public assistance and you waited on the welfare line for cheese, I waited on the line for cheese with grandma. Not fun. You want to humble yourself? And my grandmother would send me to the store, pick up a gallon of milk and pick up some bread. And before there was an EBT card, it was paper money, which money's paper anyway, but it looked like Monopoly money. It was coupons. If you've never bought nothing from a store with a coupon, you don't know what it's like to be broke. And yes, some people have it worse. You know, God forbid, there's some countries that don't have the resources we have. So I don't knock it. It just is what it is. But I'm trying to leave something slightly better. I don't want my son and my daughter buying nothing with coupons. If you don't like the way that sounds, whatever. That's on you. That's not me. I just know what that life is like. And so the idea for today, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, man. You know, I'm going to be 44. You talk about the experiences and the mode of operation on top of the blessing that Red Rose has offered us today to jump in the chat. Hopefully we get this chat jumping at 4:00 in the morning as much as possible. With people who are trying, this is the Do You rules. Do you how you want to do you, as long as you know consciously that you're doing you. Yeah, yeah. And so the movement for today was, what are you thinking, right? Because what you're thinking is very important. So I started off the stream with, I wouldn't go into a business meeting without an agenda. I wouldn't have some talking points because, one, I represent myself as a professional in a very high standard. I also have a job where I'm responsible for people. You know, I only really have two people above me as far as hierarchical structure. So there's a lot that comes with that. You know, managing of people, managing of process, managing of budgets, managing of expectations. And so if I would go into the business that way, and I think we're also focused on identifying the success of ourselves with, what do you do for a living? That what I do for a living is not me. It pays the bills. Don't get me wrong. It pays the bills nicely. And it's almost bonus time. So I'm not knocking it. I love it. But that's not me. That's insulting. Who I am, integrity, honesty, sincerity, to try and put max effort is who I am. So if it's during my 9 to 5, I give you all that during my 9 to 5. When I clock out, leave me alone. It's family time. When I wake up, I go straight to God. Leave me alone. I apply the same principle and that's who I am, the characteristics of who I've become. And sometimes if I'm not feeling it, fuck you, right? Like I'm not feeling it, and I'm allowed that as well. You can't tell me how to feel or how to move or how to operate my day. That's me. That's what God gave me for the day. That's what I'm gonna give you. You don't like it? Whatever. I don't have to like it either. So in that way, I have an agenda. I know what I'm going to talk about. I've been doing business for 20 plus years. As Red Rose said, 1,000, forget 100, put 1,000 so we get to 1,000. We on 1,000 today. What is your agenda for life every day? If you're on a self-improvement journey, you need to have, not you need to, you don't have to. It's your choice. I'm not telling you what to do. I would never tell anybody. That's the biggest rule of the do you rules. I don't know what to tell you. Again, the way that I define myself through what is my soul and my spirit on. What I do what I do because I said I was going to do it. What did you say you were going to do today? What did you say you were going to do today? That's agenda item number 1. Did you wake up when you said you was going to wake up? So a lot of the cliche, that's why I'm cliche Jeff. You get into self-improvement routines. Don't hit the snooze. When you hit the snooze, it's not just that if you look into the neuroscience, what happens is too, you get sort of this, and you talk about dopamine levels and the spike you get and think about it. If you ever hit the snooze, it's like 9 more minutes. And interestingly enough, it is 9 minutes because I'm a technology guy. I'm in information technology. The coders, they couldn't code double digits on the snooze. They can only code to 9. In any event, when you hit it, you get a satisfaction of, oh man. And if you fall back into a REM sleep and then the snooze goes off, that's irritating for your chemical levels in the neurology of how you work. I'm not a neurologist. I'm just telling you what I read. So after you read that, experience it, hit the snooze, and watch how you get irritated and you wake up irritated because you're going into sleep, which feels very, very good. And then boom, that annoying alarm goes off and it pulls you back out. And that in and out, in and out, in and out, it causes you to start feeling very irritated in your soul. But here's what you're really doing. Forget all that because I'm not a neuroscientist. This is my experience. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. You set the alarm. So my alarm is set for 3:30. If when my alarm goes off at 3:30, I hit snooze, I start on my day with a lie. Because the night before, this goes back to my agenda, I went to bed at night. I talked to myself. What is in your thoughts? What are you thinking? What are you thinking is important at all times? Because you can't consciously always think about what you're thinking about. But what you think about when you're conscious stays with you throughout the day as you're moving, and you kind of drift into subconscious and you start to flow. You flow into who you are as a person. We talked about the roles. So my wife goes into work today. It's 4:45. At about 6:15, I got to go walk the dog. So I go from influencer Jeff and stream time Jeff and content creator Jeff into I got to walk the dog because I got to go be a father. I got to be a husband. And then I got to pack lunches. I got to make breakfast. I got to get pancakes and bacon and all that shit done. I got to get the kids out the door. And I don't mean it that way because this is big to me. I'm locked in. Like, yo, when I get off of here, when I click stop streaming, I let go of who I am as it still feels uncomfortable for me as an influencer because that's not what my focus is. I'm locked in on this is my time for this. Now I'm locked in on I got to be a father. Then I'm locked in on I got to be a professional. I use my lunch break to lift today. I get locked in on I got to lift. And I'm in my mode, one priority at a time. So now if you hit the snooze, you started your day with a lie. You also just took time from yourself. And now you're compressing your time. Now you're in a rush because you hit snooze 4, 5, 6 times, and that turns into 9 minutes to 18 minutes to 45 minutes. Then you're wondering, yo, why am I frustrated? Why am I frustrated to start my day? Because you're in the routine of being frustrated. And what you don't realize also is your body craves this frustration. Why? We become addicted to our emotions. If I don't start, you don't realize, if you stop to think about what's happening, think about it. Give yourself a time. Today was I'm hyped. Red Rose got me hyped. If you start to think about what you're thinking about, then immediately you'll start to logically go into why am I thinking about what am I thinking about? And why am I feeling about what am I thinking about when I'm feeling about what am I thinking about when I'm thinking about what I'm feeling? You get what I'm saying? And thinking about your thoughts and starting to create an agenda around what you want to do day to day will help you rationalize your thoughts. I talked about being logically inspirational, logically philosophical, philosophically logical. That's what it is. All I got is heart. Is all I know for sure. I think that God gave me. I was reading this book. I'm still into this book, The Writings of Descartes, and he talks about. I know I have a soul. I know I have a spirit. Thank you. But then I know I have a body, and I know I have a mind, and I know that because I think my thoughts, and my thoughts are somewhat associated to my soul is not necessarily my body, but I need my body to know that my soul has a meaning and my mind has intention. And so I need it all to be connected to move forward. But that also lets me know that there's a presence of God. So for me, I'm not asking you what your I always talk about this. God is priority everything. I'm not telling you how to feel God, what to think of God, that my God is better. I don't get into all that. I haven't even really gotten into how I believe in God, but it isn't standard to how I was raised in Western culture and church every Sunday. I'm a Hispanic male who was raised in the 80s. I have said this before, very strict about Catholicism. God is everything, but how I do it, again, is different. So back to the theme. What are you thinking? What are you thinking when you wake up? Did you hit the snooze because you don't want to lie to yourself? If you woke up, if you went to bed saying I'm gonna wake up at 3:30 and I'm gonna pray, then wake up at 3:30 and go pray. If you said after my prayer I'm gonna go click stream, then go click stream. If you said you were gonna do that for an hour, then you were gonna go for a run or you were gonna go for a walk, then go for the run, then go for the walk. If you said you were gonna rest and sleep in, then rest and sleep in. The point is, do what you said you were going to do because you said you were going to do it. And the easiest way to start understanding how to do what you said you were going to do is to think about it. Because why would you want to lie to yourself? Why would you not want to hold yourself accountable? Why would you not want to do it for you? And if you think about the thoughts we think, back to the dude I was talking about, we have sort of this insatiable desire to socially be accepted, which is fair because we're social creatures. I'm not telling you go have a million friends, whatever. Go have one friend. Like I said, whatever it is, go post a highlight. That people talk about social media is just this highlight reel, the gram. And, I have Instagram now. I talked about yesterday, my daughter has Instagram. It's a very big transition for me. And I worry constantly about the exposure. But yeah, why would I want to post something of me weak or not in my best me? But at the same time, yeah, there's some days I'm just like yesterday. I talked about I was very anxious. I was very uncomfortable. And my anxiousness makes me feel insecure. It gives me self-doubt. It makes me question what I'm doing because like Red Rose, thank you. It's good to think deep. You got to think deep. Imagine streaming every day and nobody coming onto the stream ever at all. I'm not saying that I have, because I talk about this. You gotta be careful about your expectations, right? God's gonna give you what God's gonna give you when God's ready to give it to you. But if I just came on here because I want a million people to watch my stream, this is day 7. I would have quit on day 3. That's not necessarily the goal, but at the same time, of course, I want people to join. The same way, of course, you want to post on social media that you're eating right and you're thinking right and you're putting in all the effort and work. Why would you want to show a version of yourself that wasn't something that somebody will want to receive well? And so in that way, we want to be socially accepted because why wouldn't we? And so back to the thoughts. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, or I'm going to start to have and converse with you about what I'm thinking a lot around what I think you want to hear. Because what I think you want to hear is important to how you view me, and how you view me is important to how I view myself. Are we programmed that way? I get very, very, very specific about my words. Are we raised that way? Are we exposed that way? Is it because we haven't improved enough on ourselves that we rely too heavily on what people think? Possibly. But I'm human enough to know that if I feel dope, like, yo, I'm dope. I'm a dope human. I'm self-actualized. I do exactly what I've been doing the same thing for years now. I do I think it deserves a round of applause? No. But I can talk to you in this way. If you want to be consistent and you want to be committed and you want to drive towards excellence, I know how to set an agenda. I know how to be on time all the time. I know how to keep myself accountable. I know how to be, content. And so if that's the mode you want to do, let's talk about it. But I do it for me. But at the same time, when I'm exposing myself to you, yeah, I want you to recognize me for who I am. Yes, it feels good to know, like, yo, this is what I'm about. And you see that and you recognize that. Cool. That means the energy I'm putting out is reciprocal. It's bouncing off of you and you're giving it back to me. And it gives me a level of validation. But at the same time, I don't need you to validate me. I don't want you to validate me. I don't crave for you to validate me. It's a crazy balance. Because at the same time, I think Alan Watts said this. Thank you. I'm thinking, right? Alan Watts is like, yo, how would I know I exist if you didn't reflect to me? Like, imagine walking outside to the store. Let's say you walk for 2 miles and you walk to the store and you walk by 100 people and nobody made eye contact. Nobody kind of saw that you were there. What if you walked through people? If people didn't acknowledge you, you wouldn't know you're alive. And so in that way, you want to be seen by people. But also in the same way, people aren't always going to see you how you want to be seen. So don't really, my thing is, I don't try to force it. I tell you what I tell you. It's pushing on 5 o'clock. Alan Watts is dope, right? I love the voice of Alan Watts, the sound of Alan Watts. When he laughs, I got goosebumps thinking about it. I'm going to go for my run in a few minutes here. It's almost 5 o'clock. I'm going to put in a good 3-4 miles. Get back, walk the dog, but I need nature right now. It's like 12 degrees by me too. It's cold. It's really cold, but I need that. I need the energy of the world in my spirit right now because I feel so great about what I've just done. So I want to inhale life. But back to thinking, like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking today? Are you on task? Do you have task lists? Do you have intention? Are you making improvement? That was part of what I was going to show my spreadsheet. Save it another day. I could look at it and say this. So far this year, I've put in about 3 hours of intentional prayer and meditation, which roughly amounts to 30 minutes a day. And I'll tell you what, when you start to think this way, I feel like I'm constantly in prayer mode and I'm constantly meditating because I'm constantly conscious. Like, yo, when you think, I catch myself, yo, be careful what you're thinking. You don't want to think too many thoughts. It's not to say that I don't think crazy thoughts, but I check myself. Like, yo, why are you thinking that? Why are you thinking that? Is something happening? Are you all right? Like, you good? Why? You don't have to think thoughts that don't. That's the thing too. That's what you learn about prayer and meditation. If you're thinking uncomfortable thoughts, you don't have to keep thinking uncomfortable thoughts. I know it's easier said than done, but start thinking about what you're thinking about, and then you'll find yourself being like, yo, all right, I don't need to think like this, and then change it, and then practice it. I've given hours and hours and hours and hours and hours upon hours and hours and hours, seconds, minutes, days, weeks, months, and years of thought to thought and God and stillness and meditation because I want to think better. I want to think better. I have one life. Why would I not want to think of all the beautiful possible things I can think about? But in that same way, as I referenced yesterday, I talked about the duality. It comes with, I can't be high all the time. I got to have low. Hate is the protector of love. I'll keep saying it because it's such a profound statement. How could hate protect love? Because if sometimes I didn't hate waking up at 3:30, I wouldn't love waking up at 3:30. If sometimes I didn't hate the fact that nobody's on the stream, I wouldn't be able to. I feel grateful and blessed for you too. I feel grateful. Thank you for subscribing. Yes. I hope that your life brings you exactly what you deserve and exactly what you want with your life. And thank you. Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for making me feel good about life. It's nice. It's nice. It's nice that people are people. And like Alan Watts would say, people are peopling. People are peopling. And so if you're going to make the 1,000 hours of investment, like any investment, what is my return? What is my return? And if hate is the protector of love, if strength is only produced from weakness, if richness only comes from poorness, and the fulfillment of life only comes from the pleasure of pain and the struggle through growth, then you can't elude it. You can't chastise yourself for the reality that, man, some days it's just not going to be your day. But every someday that's not your day you get, God guarantees that if you stay focused on it's going to be my day, 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 guess what happens? One day becomes your day. And when you get that feeling of, ooh, this was dope, you're going to get more days like that because that's just the way life works. That's just the way life works. It's not to say again, you're not going to suffer. It's not to say again that there's some things out of your control, but it is to say that when those uncontrollables happen, when you get punched in the mouth and life is bullying you, you're like, yo, it's all right. I got you because I'm going to be where I said I was going to be, when I said I was going to be there. I'm going to keep committing to God. I'm going to keep committing to my self-improvement agenda. I'm going to keep committed to what I said I was going to do. And as long as I do that, life has no choice but to submit to me. That's the investment. That's the investment. This felt dope. This felt really good. Thank you. Thank you, Red Rose. Thank you to anyone who this might have made it to. Thank you for anyone who decides to embark on the Do You Rules endeavor and journey and show love. You know, I'll tell you this. I certainly believe, I don't believe with everything I've been able to achieve, it makes me realize how much not better I am than anybody else. With every time I go through a high because I went through a low, it makes me realize how vulnerable and weak I am and how that exists in everybody else. Part of my evolution, you know, the journey with my wife in particular, I'm very hesitant about talking about that experience because it's not perfect and she has a say in how this goes. But when you start to realize that you have pain within yourself and that you can take care of your own pain because I control me, then you get very cognizant of, I might hurt somebody else. And when I hurt somebody else, I have no control over getting them through it. No control over saying, damn, I hurt you. And I have no power to get you back into positivity because I know how hard it is to get myself back into positivity. You become very careful to how you move because you want to protect yourself, but you also want to protect yourself from doing something to someone that you can't take back because life will return that pain to you in a way that is very unfortunate and borderline unfathomable. So the entirety of, you know, I reference that, all that to say, just take care of yourself and everything takes care of itself because at least you're doing your best to genuinely put forth the effort to improve your life. That's all you could do. 1 second, minute, hour at a time. We on a journey to 1,000. We're going to do it this year as we did last year, at least for me, and as we'll continue to do for our lives. I almost don't want to stop. I'm hyped, but I am going to continue on with my day. It's the Do You Rules. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.